Steve, I'm going to take that same approach and that same line of thinking to the quarterback competition in particular, because I hear it from contributors like yourself all over the place that are covering quarterback positional battles. So if we hear that Baker Mayfield had a rough day, or Mason Rudolph, or they threw 8 touchdowns against the first-team defense, nobody bats an eye. We know It's a known commodity. But when there's a quarterback battle in particular, every shred of news that comes out, he threw an interception in the red zone. So-and-so's having a bad camp. When you have that quarterback competition, every thread of news really shakes the fan base.
Right. And, Jim started Big Ten Media Days talking about, and I think that's the last time you and I talked was right after Big Ten Media Days, and Coach Harbaugh discussed, we have a 3-way race. I think a lot of people poo-pooed that, didn't think John O'Korn was much of a factor. Now, I think I told you on here that the reports out of Rome were that O'Korn had really played well. That was some of the best football that he had played since transferring to Michigan, since getting off the scout team. But, I think a lot of people figured that 3-way competition was really just being nice to O'Korn for not transferring, being a good kid, and then it was really Brandon Peters versus Wilton Speight. Well, Harbaugh's made it very clear in the last couple of weeks that it's a 2-way race now, that Brandon Peters just isn't there yet from a leadership standpoint. In fact, I think our first opponent, Florida, is probably in a similar juncture with Felipe Franks. That's who they'd like the starting quarterback to be eventually. Talent-wise, skill set-wise, that is more of what they've embodied since Jim McElwain took over the program. But he's also not played a meaningful snap yet, and he's probably not there yet. Well, an equally highly ranked quarterback from the same class, Brandon Peters, also a redshirt freshman. He is more of the ideal of probably what Jim would want, but he's just not ready to command a huddle yet. And I think with Wilton Speight, he had a dreadful spring game. Let's not spin that at all. It was absolutely dreadful. But we go back to what I said a few minutes ago, Mark. When they've played on the field, when there's a record of achievement on the field, then I think ultimately what you do on game day matters more than anything else. And last year, Wilton Speight went from a guy that no one thought was going to be the starting quarterback. Everybody thought it was going to be John O'Korn, to third-team All-Big Ten, led the Big Ten in third-down passing efficiency. He was Pro Football Focus rated him one of the best deep ball, most accurate deep ball throwers returning in college football. And I think that you look at the 3 games Michigan lost last year. The Iowa game, he was dreadful. There's no way of spinning that. The whole offense was dreadful in that game. All right, but still, as dreadful as he was, he had a pass right on Jehu Cheson's chest for a touchdown that if Jehu catches that, they win the game. He had another pass right on Amaro Darbo's hands for a third down conversion. If he catches that, they run out the clock, they win the game, and they're probably in the college football playoff. Okay, so keep that in mind. The Ohio State game, he probably shouldn't have played that game, Mark. If there was any other opponent with anything else at stake, given the shoulder injury he had to recover from, he probably doesn't play. But since that was essentially a quarterfinal game for the college football playoff, he had to go. He had a couple of ill-advised throws, no doubt about that. The pick six ended up, being essentially Ohio State's biggest offensive play of the game, because they didn't really do much else offensively in that game until overtime with Curtis Samuel. But he also delivered one of the most clutch throws on the road I've seen from a Michigan quarterback in recent memory. In that same game, 4th and goal, they need a touchdown to send it to another overtime, and he hits a very tight window in order to convert. And then the Florida State game. I would tell your audience, go watch that game. Florida State was doing a lot of stunting, a lot of twisting. Michigan's offensive line looked like they'd never faced that like ever before in their lives. He was running for his life. He kept Michigan in that game and brought them back to the point they actually took the lead in the final minute. So I'm not here to say Wilton Speight is Sam Darnold. He's not. But I also think maybe because, we love the new hotness nowadays, I think maybe his skill set is being overlooked, and what he's done on the field is being overlooked at the exact same time.